Hey DCC, and welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee. Um, One of the hardest things for us to sometimes accomplish in our life is to follow the simplest of commands, isn't it? Because those simple commands just aren't easy to fulfill. I don't have to take you through many verses of the New Testament for you to understand that one of the things God calls us to is love. And while there's all kinds of different aspects of how we show love, right? There's tough love when we need to be tough. There's phileo love, kind of brotherly love, like I'm gonna bro down with my bros and have their back and encourage them and do life together with them. There's all these different ways in which that word love can be defined, right? And it's a tricky word. But I want to focus on one aspect of that seems, to me at least, I see it often broken. I see it not fulfilled. And that is that, I guess, making something easy for someone. So many times throughout my week, I look at situations where you have somebody who's in a meeting or they're in a group and they're sharing out of the passion of their heart, and they've got this proposal and they've done their homework. They've spent time studying it and thinking it through and figuring it out, and they bring it into the group and they share it and they're all excited about it. And at the same time, I'll see someone who didn't give much thought at all to this subject or to this idea, who hasn't done the research, who hasn't invested in there. It wasn't their idea. They didn't come up with some genius plan themselves, but they will poo-poo the idea, or they'll smirk at it, or they'll mock it, or they'll resist it, or they'll try to pick it apart with questions. And while I'm all for making sure that when we do things, we want to fight for the right decision, and so there are questions that need to be in. So I'm not saying just carte blanche, everyone should get what they do, but so many times the questions aren't coming out of a heart of, I want to make this better. They come out of this thing of just like, I don't know, negativity, and they don't want to make it easy for someone. And they could just make it easy, right? And other times I see examples where somebody's really trying to work hard and they're really doing a fantastic job, and there's one little tiny thing out of place, or there's just one little aspect that they might have left undone. And it would just be simple for somebody to walk over and take care of that and just go, you know what, I got that, no big deal. And don't even tell the person about it, right? Because you know how hard they're working. And yet over and over again, I've seen examples where somebody will, hey, you missed a spot. Hey, you didn't really do that. Hey, you got to come over here. And it drives me crazy inside, right? Because one of the things that I feel like is the easiest part of loving others, that we should all get on board with, is just making things easy for people. How hard is it for you to be positive? How hard is it for you to encourage someone? How hard is it to fight the negative thoughts and the nitpicky stuff and actually look at the passion and the heart of an individual and see that they put a lot of work and effort towards something, and figure out, how do you push to make that move forward in a success? How do you push and make it better? How do you really get behind and encourage that person because you're on the same team as them? And so that's something that I want to make sure that you understand. It's not really an option. I mean, sure, God gives you free choice and you can choose to do whatever you want, but it doesn't mean that sometimes your actions will produce sin. It is a requirement. It is a commandment. It is one of the largest commandments in all of God's word, is to love one another, to support one another. And while, yes, there are times to tough love somebody, and there are times to, but is that 90% of the time? I think there's way more opportunity out there to invest in somebody and really believe in them and give them attaboys and praise them and get behind their project. Sure, maybe you would have done it different. But you know what? You didn't come to the group with an idea. Maybe you would have approached something differently, but but this way is just fine. So get behind it. Then there's the aspect of nitpicky or picking apart people and their work, or just criticizing them, or always finding some little snag that's wrong, right? Those are things that just erode somebody's passion. And when I hear those words and I see the results, I've seen somebody come in with a smile on their face and joy in their heart and passion, and then their whole day is ruined. I've watched them retreat back out of that conference room to a desk and just get discouraged. I've watched that go from that to time and time and time again being in a meeting and just not risking and not sharing and not doing that. Is that what you want on your team? Is that what you want in your family? Do you want your team or your family or your church or your small group or whoever God gives you an opportunity to impact, do you want them to be discouraged? Do you want them to feel like garbage? If not, then love them and get behind them and make what they do easy, right? And so I don't want to make this too negative and push on people, but it is something that I'm very passionate about, because I just see the weight of words, and I feel like our culture and the way that our world is now, it just pushes people to be hypercritical, to make fun of people, to be antagonistic, to be the devil's advocate on so many things. And so what I really want you to rise up today and to do is figure out, how do you make it easy? How do you actually do something that makes somebody's life better? How do you help them accomplish their goal? How do you get behind them and push them and help them and encourage them along the way? And good grief, if that could be 80% of what you spend your time doing, I think you'd have a great life. And I think I would have a great life. And so that's what I want to encourage. It's not easy. All of us have those thoughts. All of us have our own way of doing things. I have to tell this to myself every day. In fact, this week, I was told by a close friend that was one of the things that he'd love to see me improve on, is that I would be willing to do something another way. It doesn't always have to be my way. And so I hear that and I think, man, that's right. And I need to strive for that. So I don't want you to feel like I'm talking directly to you and not to me. This is really something I struggle with too. But it's also something I'm intensely frustrated about myself, is when I'm given over to negativity or criticism and I'm not positive and I'm not a team player. And man, I want to root that out of my life. I want to push it out of my life. I don't want to be that guy. Okay? And so I don't want you to be that guy or that gal either, right? I want you to strive to be more. So let's work together, right? But please pray this morning. Pray today that God helps you love well today. Have a good day.